You know what's wild? You can tell someone this burger is 80% lean and they'll go, nice, healthy choice. But say, it's 20% fat, and suddenly they're like, ew, no thanks. Same burger, same cow, different brain reaction. And the best part? We all fall for it. Every single one of us. Even the people who think they're too smart for marketing. Yeah, you. Me too. It's called the framing effect, and it's one of psychology's sneakiest magic tricks. Marketers, politicians, even your friends use it to steer how you think, without changing a single fact. But once you understand how it works, you'll start seeing the hidden frame around everything. Ads, arguments, news, you name it. Stick around, because once I show you this, you're never going to read a headline or see a sale the same way again. What exactly is the framing effect? All right, so let's break this down. The framing effect is basically your brain's sneaky way of saying, tell me how to feel about this. It's a cognitive bias, which means your brain reacts differently depending on how information is presented, not what the information actually is. In plain English, the same fact, said two different ways, can make you choose two totally different things. This was first discovered by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, the legends behind behavioral economics. In one of their most famous studies, they told people about a disease that was expected to kill 600 people. When participants heard that a treatment would save 200 lives, most of them said yes. But when the same treatment was described as one where 400 people would die, most said no. Even though both mean the exact same thing. 200 will live, 400 dies. Same numbers, same math, totally different reaction. That's the framing effect in action. How it shows up in everyday life. Here's where it gets interesting. The framing effect isn't just some psychology experiment. It's everywhere. In marketing, a store says, buy one, get one free, instead of 50% off when you buy two. Same deal, but one feels like a win. It triggers that little dopamine rush, like you just beat the system. In health, a doctor says, this surgery has a 90% success rate, and you're confident. But say, it has a 10% failure rate, and suddenly it sounds scary. In relationships, we only argue twice a month sounds fine. We argue every other week sounds like trouble. Same thing, just framed differently. The point is, words don't just describe reality, they shape it. They control how our brains feel about the same information. The psychology behind it, why we fall for it. So, why does this happen? Why do smart people, like us, keep falling for something so simple? The answer, our brains are lazy. And honestly, thank God. Otherwise, we'd never get anything done. Instead of analyzing every detail, we use mental shortcuts called heuristics. They save time, but they also make us predictable. One of the biggest ones is loss aversion, meaning we hate losing more than we love winning. So when something's framed as a loss, we freak out. But when it's framed as a gain, we relax. Kahneman and Tversky proved this with their prospect theory, showing that people would rather take a sure smaller gain than risk a bigger one, even when the odds are identical. That's why ads say, save $20, instead of, don't spend an extra $20. One feels like a reward, the other feels like punishment. And here's the fun part. Your amygdala, the emotional part of your brain, reacts before your logical brain even checks the math. So half the time, you've already felt the decision before you've thought about it. How it shapes the world around us. Once you start spotting it, you'll see framing everywhere. In the news, unemployment drops to 5%. Sounds optimistic. 1 in 20 people can't find work. Sounds depressing. Same data, different vibe. In politics, politicians love phrases like tax relief, because relief makes you feel like you're being rescued, not just getting a tax cut. In investing, a company says 95% of investors made profits. That sounds amazing. But say, 5% lost money, and suddenly people pull back, even though it's identical information. That's the power of framing. It doesn't change the truth, it changes your reaction to the truth. How to outsmart the framing effect. Okay, now that you know the trick, how do you beat it? Here are 3 simple science-backed moves. First, flip the frame yourself. Whenever something sounds convincing, mentally flip it. 90% success rate. Ask, so that's a 10% failure rate, right? Just doing that gives your brain a more complete picture. Second, look for neutral data. Ignore emotional language, words like save, win, guaranteed, risk-free. Instead, zoom in on the actual numbers and timeframes. And third, slow down your decisions. The faster you decide, the easier it is to be influenced by the frame. Research shows that when people take even 10 extra seconds before deciding, they make more rational choices. So the next time a sale screams, "Last chance, 50% off today only," take a breath and ask yourself, would I still want this if it said, spend 50% more than yesterday? Spoiler alert, probably not. So yeah, the framing effect isn't about lying or tricking. It's about presentation. It's how words change meaning, how tone changes trust, and how your brain decides before you even realize it. Once you start noticing these frames, you'll see them everywhere, in ads, conversations, even in your own self-talk. And here's the best part. You can flip this power. You can learn to frame your own words in a way that grabs attention, inspires confidence, and changes how people react to you. But that's a story for another video. So yeah, next time someone says 90% success rate, ask yourself what the other 10% looks like. If this video just changed how you see ads, headlines, or people, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who falls for every limited time offer. You might just reframe their perspective.